Welcome, I'm speaking, welcome to Shiny Side Out with Dave.
And Mackie.
That's still true. Still true to this day. We're on Revolution Radio. We're broadcasting from Australia. And you can find it on freedomslips.com or revolution.radio. I still have to check revolution.radio, but I think it's freedomslips.com now, where it's more than just race to jump in the chat room if you can. This is show number 419.
9, 10, and 400. See, that works really well.
It really does. It's on air online, and you'll find it on your smart device. So grab an app to listen anywhere or listen at home on a Grace tabletop digital radio. The reason why I say that every single week, Mackie, is simply because I found that digital radio allows you to get Revolution Radio. So Grace, in its list of all the things you can hear, is Revolution Radio. So do it. It's pretty easy if you don't like all that tech stuff. Let's have a radio like the old days, like a wood grain version. I don't know what models they have. If you missed Solaris's show, that's the show before ours. He had Blake Percival on. He's a whistleblower. Wow. Some great information. Great show, Solaris, by the way. I think we need platforms for whistleblowers. In fact, every whistleblower across the entire planet who's ever blown the whistle and called out activity within a business or government, for that matter, where the illegal acts, by definition of the whistleblower, but illegal acts were taking place, you need to have a platform. It can't be illegal for you to speak out. It cannot and should never be. That's just my sense. It only costs $5 US. It's going to be like $1 million Australian a month to connect because our exchange rate, oh boy, we got it pretty hard in the last 2 weeks. But it's $5 US per month to get access to the archives. And if you don't know when we say Solaris' show, you don't know who Solaris Blue Raven is, you can Google her. She's been everywhere. She's done everything. She has a lot of knowledge and understanding about topics that you may not be familiar with at all. But I really do ask that you jump in and have a listen to her prior shows because there's always a great guest and great information being handed to you on the platform. Maggie and I live in Australia. You can probably tell by our accents. That was a terrible accent. Where's that from? So what? I cans on. It's really hard. It's really hard to hear my own voice when I'm doing accents. Right? G'day, cobber. There you go. I don't know who I am anymore. This lockdown is crazy. So because we're in Australia, we have traditional custodians of the land, and we pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. And where I live, it's the Dark and Jung people. And Mackie? Yeah. And I do ask that you investigate who were the traditional custodians of the land where you grew up or where you are now. Learn it, know it. I know that when I was in California, it was the home of the Comanches. That was the original custodians of the land there. Extraordinary stuff. Of course, before the mound builders, after the mound builders, mind you. just saying. I'm not going to say they go back, a million years, but it's pretty challenging stuff. Mackie, it hurts. It hurts because this is the. Oh, all right. It hurts. It hurts. The never-ending story of the coronavirus. Yeah, well, according to The Simpsons, there's a lawsuit on the book, The Never-Ending Story. Well, it did end. It was an ending. So that's yeah. I sued the writers. So the never-ending coronavirus story. I feel like Fox News right now are doing the war on terror. This war that's been announced by Trump against the virus, and his request during the week, Mackie, which was all about, we'll be open by Easter. Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Agreed, because we still have a queue of 3 weeks of people on ventilators to provide another outcome to this, right? Mm-hmm. You had the soapbox, buddy. Go ahead. Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they haven't named the strain yet, from what I understand. Mm-hmm. 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 And if we quarantined every single person coming into country, we would have, yeah, what that should have been weeks ago, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that quarantining is controlled by the military. It is very unusual. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have not hit. They haven't hit. They're the highest in the 100 club, so they're right. They're really close to the 1,000 club now. But gee, that's pretty good. They've been in full lockdown for some time. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm. Well, yeah, that's they're going to see it rip through their slum areas, and that's the highest prediction, or a modest prediction to rip through them. But they're testing. I think that's the same thing. So we're going to the questionable thing around about testing that's occurred in every country, and that is a limited amount of testing. It's only 60 to 70% accurate, and you can be tested 3 times, and then you might show that you don't have it, and then you can be tested again, and the fail rate, it may still be there, the 60%, you might be 30%, and then you get tested again, you may show it's back again, but you never really lost it because the testing's inadequate. There's new testing methods being coming right now, where there's one where you sort of get clamped on either side of you with a device, and it's very accurate. Apparently, it may be when it's like 80% accurate. There's also ways of being able to, rather than just grow the bloom and test that way. I saw some David Icke videos during the week, and he pulled apart and cherry picked a bit of the argument for to make a point, but he across the entire argument, I think he let himself down. But the criteria to be able to get access to the limited testing is being expanded, and I think that's the best thing that we'll see in Australia, Maggie. It was there was 120 something people that they've claimed didn't come from overseas with the virus, and that community spread is occurring, but they don't know how those people got it. But it's quite clear to me how they were able to become infected, because the people who returned from overseas put almost zero effort, not all of them, a couple, zero effort into containment. They went shopping, went to the hairdressers and things like that. That complacency, Mackie, is just beyond belief, isn't it? Waverley is the hotspot. Yeah. Yeah. They have a party. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Hmm. That's right. To go surfing. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. Hmm. Wow. Hmm. Yep. Hmm. Yep. Yeah. We that long ago, or even it was 1918 virus. If that was today, we would only be getting messages that the government had truly officialized, and they'd be like once a month. Not this daily meeting, and then, conflict between the federal government and the state governments. They have a meeting at 2 a.m. to decide what the outcome's going to be. And then the state government, that's federally, and then the state government who was in that meeting says, we're not doing half of that stuff. We're going to change the messaging. And so they come out in like half an hour before the federal government is announcing these things with a different set of rules. It's no wonder people are a little confused over the messaging, because hearing two sets. Schools are open. No, they're not. Yes, they are. If you're a health worker, you can take them there. It's like a daycare centre. If you're a health worker, that's fine. We've got school holidays coming up shortly, and this is going to be a tough period because, look, I think everybody estimates, everyone does, that there is, and there's talk about this out in the open, about the school pupils not going back after the school holidays. That's the talk in the town at the moment, and the belief, but no one knows how long it's going to go for. Now, Mackie, if I line the messaging from the government up in the same fashion as they attempted to recover the economy since the GFC, where all of the financial information and messaging was all quite, our long-term projections show an increase. Doesn't mean it's actually increasing, but it's about generating hope and building a market that doesn't exist with positive messaging. And I think that's what we're currently seeing now. We're seeing this, they can't give us the gloom today. They're waiting for the day where it's gloomy to give us the gloom message. Right now it's kind of positive. But when you have a look where we've now, the government's established, our government's established a task force to deal with this as the situation changes. That's very military style. That's the operations team are looking at how everything's moving, all the moving pieces, and working out the strategy for that. The laws, Mickey, on Wednesday last week, the police just decided to make new laws, which is great. They need them because people weren't behaving themselves. Police can now fine two people a fine for being too close to each other. It's sort of like when I was dancing at the school dance. No, got to be further away. Arm's length, right? It's very funny. So you've got to be 6 feet or plus, 1.5 meters away from the next person, and the police are driving around, just fining people. They've only issued 10 tickets because as soon as you see a police car, everyone's, guilty. They all, distance themselves from each other. But we're not seeing the same level of increases from our government as has been announced by the US, for instance. But there's talk of possibly securing people's wages to 80% of their wage. There's talk of that, and people are saying, what about my wage insurance? Shouldn't there be? Shouldn't we be covered by this? Not if you're let go by the company, right? That's right. Mm-hmm. That's right. Good luck. No, what Meki's saying is you shouldn't do that. But if that happened to you, then yes, that you'd be paying. Yeah. No, they're not. They're not. When I was looking at them, well, I think we're at 2 million unemployed now, or something really close. Yeah. No. Mm-hmm. I, I I know, right? Yeah, that's right. And only because they'd outsourced, and all those countries are now locked down too. Yeah. So bring it back on shore again. That's actually pretty good. Mm, mm, yeah, that's right. Well, no, there's a lot of very large companies, Mackie, as you know already, that require their staff to work at home, but they've got desktops at work that they just can't take home and set up. So, imaging laptops is a thing that's going on with large corporates that need their people to work. You know, right? And so there's not factories, but you can call them like a production facility where you're just throwing these laptops out that are all image ready to go for that client. One of the things that has struck me recently about this, and Mackie, I know you and I have talked about this, and that is at the other end of this tunnel, there'll be a lot of change. But how much change and what gets changed will depend, and at the moment, it all depends on money, purely money, because we're seeing some of the largest amounts of money being thrown onto this problem that the world has ever seen. Well, it's the 3 trillion US. Well, it's a pretty good statement of work, I'll tell you. So that's a lot of money, and that's never happened. It hasn't happened ever. It's the largest single quantity of money to throw at a single problem that wasn't war. Yeah, but one of those things, Becky, that Donald Trump mentioned, President Trump mentioned about Easter will be back and running again, and the US buying all of the hydroxychloroquine that was available. I think he's got like a sneaking suspicion that all those meta studies that I've mentioned, and if you want more information, go to MedCram YouTube channel. MedCram's really good, run by doctors on this, and they look at all, they examine all the meta studies around the world, to what works and what won't work. That looks like it's going to allow people to either become incapable of receiving the disease, or the virus, where the disease is the effect of the virus, or allow your body to quickly recover from it, since it'll stop bloom, and then the proteins just die their natural death. So, because that's all RNA is protein. So, it could be the thing that his secret weapon on this. I noticed that China announced this week that they'll sell hydroxychloroquine to anyone. They'll go into production and start selling to everybody. Wow. If you've not been aware of how advertising works, you create a problem and then you sell the solution. I thought that was pretty funny. But truly the way the world will look after this is going to be something else. If people are just willing to throw $2 trillion or $3 trillion at something, if the government is willing to provide in some way 80% of your wage just to get through it, so we don't lose. Could you imagine the property market, Meki, if the banks didn't give you a loan holiday and there was no rent being paid, how much property would overturn? Would change hands, right? With no one with money, there'd be very few there to buy it all, and the price could fall out of the market. Therefore, the banks lose half of their equity, right? Yeah, we're still connected. Yeah, true. Hmm. Hmm. Oh, wow. That's a good point of, yes. Yeah, tones. It's good. Yeah, so I pushed play and I could hear us back through it. So, mm, yeah, yeah, yep. I know, right? So with the vulnerable positions that our relative countries are in, or facing, or going to face, with populations being adjusted, finances getting moved around, because the truly rich are always rich. It doesn't matter what the story is. My grandmother was telling me about not peeling the potatoes because it was a waste of potatoes during the Great Depression. Yeah, you don't want to do that because you can lose a pound a peel. Don't do that. There's not very many things to eat. So I look at what opportunities there would be for a renewed discussion on governance of our countries. Because if truly, I'll get back to my point. That is, if you can supply your people with 80% of their wage just from the government, just by typing numbers into an account, because money doesn't mean anything anymore. Like truly, the value of money is gone. As long as you control hyperinflation, so that doesn't ever happen, it might be a different world at the end of this. We might be looking at something like living wages and an economy that, I don't know, is vastly different from the current modeling that we have. Like if there was a mix or an opportunity for a one world government or a one world coin, or what I mean, like a thing that if no one can balance this out, and the UN is so toothless. Sorry to all of you at the UN, but you are. If there was a way of being able to balance this out and control it globally and make sure everyone had the same rules, who thought that balancing this out would make sure that every country was in lockdown under military control? I have to make that call because all I'm seeing is I talked about us all sort of equalizing each other, like country to country. The economies are all sort of balancing themselves out, and in some countries that no one even cared about. France and Hong Kong, and was it Venezuela? All of these countries have been protesting against their governments because of their mishandling of the people and all the resources. What point, I wonder, would it take for people to do this? I mean, in Australia, we've got so much apathy and complacency. We don't really care unless it happens to one of us or our friends. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Bed sit. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still can't. I still can't buy. I still can't buy toilet paper, paper towels, or flour. But pasta's back again. Becky, I know I've always had a stock. You have always had a stock. We've always talked about what you should be prepared for. Sorry, how you should be prepared for something you don't understand or you don't know yet. My friends, Becky, I'm going to tell you, I had some friends who just were never in a position to double buy going back for a while. They've never had a position to have a stock of food in their place to survive anything. And that's right. That's right. It's really tough. Mm-hmm. Mm. stinging nettle. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so to help your immune system also, don't forget to ensure that you get good sleep. A regular good sleep is another one of those vectors to assist you. So you need all those things that Mackie said, but also let's compound that and make better with a good sleep. Even though it might be difficult to sleep when there's things on your mind, but you know what? Have your plan. Be confident that your plan is going to, allow you to be successful through this. Right? That's really important. So yeah, those messages from the rich, Mackie. But I thought this would be a good segue. So there's a lot of information going around the internet, and one of those things that fell into me or in my news feed, and tried to follow up as much as I could, is all of these CEOs quitting since the virus started. And you've got to understand that once the word came out about the virus, think about Bill Gates's, from years ago, 2017, the world is not prepared for a pandemic. No, it's not prepared. We're ill prepared to deal with a pandemic. And then, yeah, well, you know what? He quit as on the board just recently, and that's after the call. He quit recently, really recently. So since let's just put the date back there as like December 2019, and the Disney CEO stepped down. Bill Gates stepped down from the board of Microsoft. The Hulu, Walt Disney Company, again, the CEO Randy Freer stepped down. IBM in January 30, they stepped down. That's Ginny Rometty. But there's people replacing them. But these people were, the cream of the crop people. LinkedIn, another one. Jeff Weiner, February 5th. There's more. Salesforce or Velocity. That's VLOCITY. They stepped down February 25th. There's more. MGM, so US casino operator MGM Resorts International, that their CEO is going to step down before completing his contract. He's getting out early. Now, that's February 12th, because you know what? They've closed up, and Vegas is closed. Not the whole of Vegas, but all of the hotels closed. That's it. Don't need that anymore. Congregate, can't be in the betting areas. It's closed. All of the casinos are closed. MasterCard, the head of MasterCard, that's it. I'm out. AJ Banger stepped down. Also, Victoria's Secret, that's the Bed Bath and Body Works. That's all the brands, the old brands. Stepped down February 20. Back when this started, you could say that it might have been a little early for John Legere from T-Mobile, but he's going to call it April 30. That's when he's stepping down. Harley Davidson again, and the Tinder, the OkCupid, Hinge CEO as well stepped down. Now, I would think that these are totally successful companies doing fantastic. Why would you step down and let you get going? And this is the tinfoil hat conspiracy wearing me suggesting that maybe they're going to their bunkers. Do you know how many converted missile silos there are in the US, Mackie? There's thousands, right? And they've been converted into perfect living, multi-story living spaces with pools and spas and all those things you mentioned that are really cool things to have. Well, they can sit through this with food stores to last years. Think about that. Wouldn't you? I mean, really, I saw a bunker program in New Zealand where all these people, all these types of people, CEOs from all around the world, have bought land and built a house and put in bunkers, underground bunkers, so they can ride it out. New Zealand's a great spot for it. The hills, goodness me, pretty much deal with anything there. Isolated, enough isolation, just enough to get by. Wouldn't you? I'm going to say, Neki, if we were CEOs, top CEOs of top companies, I would have already gone. Absolutely. I'd be like Iron Man. I'd have it'd be like a hollowed out mountain is what I'd have. They laughed that you couldn't build one of those without people knowing. But remember that town in England that was completely hollowed out underneath with miles of road for the continuation of government in the case of a war in England? The Queen could even go down to full government. It was underneath a town and no one knew. Except the butcher, of course, because he had the access tunnel. But he was in on it. So, that golden ticket, the key to the escape vehicle, you're not going to tell anyone if you've got it. And I think that's something really important. All I ask, and Mackie, this is from Shiny Side Out's perspective, we just ask that you make sure you're as safe as you can be and that you take all the right precautions to deal with it being worse than it currently is. What would you do if it was full martial law and there was military checkpoints? I'm going to put my hand up and say, behave yourself. Unless you're like an alien invasion or something. It could go in any direction. Once we're in that point from a secure lockdown, I think that it could come out unscathed or walk out to a brave new world. Personal hygiene aside, I think it's going to be extraordinary times ahead. Walking out of this is going to be crazy, Mecca. I've seen some very memes of the week. I'm not even going to do them because you've got a whole show worth of memes of the week. But it's going to be like Neanderthal coming out at the end. Neanderthal. This will have our grooming will have gone by the wayside. It's just tough times, and people hold it together, do well, be well, and obey what you believe is the best message of social distancing to not pass this awful virus on. If you believe it's real, if you don't believe it's real, still do it for everyone else, and don't just do it for you. So, it's sort of almost. I've got the Solarises today. She ended up a minute early because we couldn't hear the jingle through the headset. But that's okay. One day we'll hear that. The other thing was the internet bandwidth, because we've got another minute. So the internet bandwidth that we're all supposed to be using. Where in some cases it's quicker to use your mobile rather than use your home internet. The data on your mobile, it's more effective. Was questioned yet again this week because of the amount of people using the internet is greater than the estimated allowances for the size of the bandwidths between all of the connections of the internet across Australia. Isn't that crazy? They never expected us to use this much. So it was never built large enough to cope with it. Wow. I make that argument that, everyone can't pick their phone up and dial a phone number because it won't work. And you can't do that at work, you can't do that at home, because there's just not enough bandwidth for that. I expect that. But the internet, goodness me, surely there would be enough for everybody. Clearly not. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Surely it's getting cached somewhere that we can, look at through someone else's cache. I don't know. I don't know how that really works. I don't think it's a thing. I think that the government's trying to watch everything we do so much that there's no caching anymore. Um, there's the music. We'll see after a short break, and we'll come back in with absolutely take the liberty of donating to the station during the break. I don't know. Huh. Hmm. Hmm. That's a debunking. That's a debunking argument. Yeah, completely. Number 1, India. Vehicles that could revolve around the Earth, i.e. satellites. Their fuel is drawn from the air in a very simple and cheap way. The motor is something like a modern turbine. It works from one chamber to another and does not stop or stall unless switched off. If nothing happens, it continues to function. The ship in which it is built could revolve as long as it liked around the Earth, only falling when parts of which it is made were burnt up. Very interesting. Number 2, again India. Philosophers and scientists who orbited the Earth below the moon and above the clouds are spoken of in ancient Surya. Siddhartha? Giant satellites made of shiny metal and turning about an axis are described in detail in ancient Sanskrit text, right down to the dimensions and interiors, as well as smaller craft that fly between them and Earth. The Chaldea, 2 modern rockets emitting rays at the rear, like a box, like a loudspeaker, and a copy of the Gemini capsule, are engraved on a copper chisel unearthed in Ur. Number 4, Sumeria. Pictographic text described 3 related objects on display in Sipar. The golden sphere, this looks like the command module. The GIR, the GUR. A long arrow-shaped object divided into several compartments, and the Alec Maharati, meaning advancer that makes vessel go. It could be a motor or an engine or a rocket. Together, they look very much like a 3-part rocket ship. Another explicit sign is the combination of 2 words, din and gur, when joined together to form the word, is that gudders? The tail of the fin-like gur fits perfectly into the opening of the rocket like din, which exhausts fire from its tail. Sounds to me like a 3-stage rocket. Number 5, Peru. A clay vessel 8.5 inches high portrays a kind of space capsule on which motor and exhaust are clearly recognizable. Like we've all seen that one. There's a little dude sitting in there and there's no glass. Extraordinary. Number 6, in Italy, a painting discovered in the niche of a room under Rome's Palatine Hill in 1961 trays what appears to be a rocket. It stands on a launching pad. From it run guys or cables. Behind is a tall wall resembling a counterblast wall. Wow. In Japan, excavations have uncovered clay figurines of people clad in peculiar spaceships, with helmets entirely covering their heads. On the helmets are representations of something like slit-type glasses, breathe or breath filters, antennae, hearing aids, and even night sight devices. In India, again, the Mahabharata describes 2-story sky chariots with many windows ejecting red flame that race up into the sky until they look like comets to the regions of both the sun and the stars. Meki. Mm. Hmm. Name of the airline. Mm-hmm. Mm. Hmm. 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 It is. Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah, number 20, China. A story from this same time period states that an enormous ship appeared on the sea at night with brilliant lights which were extinguished during the day. It could also sail to the moon and the stars, hence its name, a ship hanging among the stars, or the boat to the moon. This giant ship, which could travel in the sky or sail the seas, was seen for 12 years. Wow, I say that in awe. Another one from China, the Xi Qing book says that when the emperor saw crime and vice rising in the world, and here's the quote, he commanded the Chong and Li to cut off communication between Earth and the sky. And since then, there has been no more going up or down. Is this not a clear indication of the cessation of space travel in the past? Okay, this same kind of thing is also spoken about in the Sumerian text. Tibet, Sanskrit documents discovered by the Chinese at Lhasa are claimed to contain directions for building interplanetary spaceships. Flight to the moon is mentioned, though it is not stated whether this was undertaken or just planned. The Chinese have stated that certain of the data were being studied for inclusion in their space program. Number 23, relics on the moon. Reports have been made concerning strange messages on the surface of the moon. And there's a few examples. An object shaped like a sword near the crater Burt. Strange cross formations in the crater Eratosthenes and at Fra Muro. Angular lines in the crater Gassendi, and 7 spots in the shape of a Greek capital, Gamma, on the floor of the crater Litro. 2 giant sets of letters under Mare Serenitalis to the left of Mare Tranquillatus, which read PYAX and JAW in block letters, easily discernible. Strange tracks running right up the wall of the crater. Crazy. If such geometric constructions were found on Earth, speculation would rage as to the men who left them. Not every discovery has been announced by NASA, and exploration has scarcely begun. Already NASA has run out of budget for further moon visits. This was when it was written. It is by no means impossible that future astronauts will discover objects or installations showing that other human beings came to the moon in the distant past. Number 24. It was July 20, 1969, the occasion of the first moon landing. During the last reconnaissance flight around the moon preceding the landing, one of the astronauts made an unexpected announcement. He had just seen the contours of what seemed to be some kind of 7-story structure. What was that he saw? What it might have been? Might it have been the Palace of the Cold or Palace of Cold? Why did they subsequently delete a full 11 minutes, including this, from rebroadcasts? But it was too late. We had already heard it. If there is a single ancient, long-abandoned edifice on the moon, if there is a single object indicating earlier intelligence, if there is still one recognizable rock drawing to be found, then just think what such a find would do to our conventional history. But wait, there's more. News has continued to filter through, not only from the moon, but from 40 million miles away on the small planet Mars. Meki. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I believe when I looked at it, I believe it had fallen fate, fallen to someone trying to disprove it existed. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got it. So I've also got this on the screen on YouTube. So Artemis P1, 2007, February 2007. Um, the spacecraft moved to a Celino, sorry, that'll close. Celino-centric orbit for extended missions and entered orbit in July 2011. So it took a number of years to get into that specific orbit. Artemis P2, a very similar thing. Um, that was in the same, it arrived in the same period, so there was two of them that were launched. Selene, not Dion, but Selene impacted the moon in the USGS quadrangle LQ-30 at the end of mission on the 10th of June 2009. That was also successful. The first two are all still currently in operation at the time of this publishing. Okina, this was an orbiter deployed and decayed and impacted the moon in the USGS quadrangle of LQ-08 back in 2009. after it finished its successful mission. These impacts were also planned. Ouna deployed, completed operations 29th of June 2009, but rather than being stacked into the moon or crashing the moon, it remains in orbit. The Chang'e-1 that impacted the moon in the USGS quadrangle of LQ-21 on March 2009, and the Chandrayaan, it left Earth in October 2008 and terminated in 2009. It still remains in orbit though, and it was the one that discovered the water ice on the moon. Effort. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm-hmm. That it's gravity neutral in every direction. The button. So ebb and flow. They were both launched at the same time. Oh, U2. Not U2 as in the letter U and the number 2. This is YUTU. It left Earth in December 2013, and it was deployed from the Chang'e 3 lander, which landed on the moon. This was a rover. The Chang'e 5 T1 left October 2014, and it just did a flyby. It's still operational. And it was demonstration of re-entry capsule of the Chang'e 5 sample return mission at lunar return velocity, so it stayed in orbit. That's really, really cool step forward for China there. Manfred Memorial Moon Mission. This was another flyby, yet successful, and attached to the third stage of a CZ-3C used to launch the Chang'e 5 T1. That's interesting. TESS. April 2018, the Falcon 9 full thrust using gravity assist. That was successful. That was a flyby on the 17th of May 2018 to designated high Earth orbit. Extraordinary. Kao, I'm just guessing. 21st of May 2018, Gravity Assist L2 orbit. It's still operational. Into designated Earth-Moon L2 orbit on June 14th in preparation for the Chang'e 4 Farside lunar lander in December 2018. The Longjiang 1, that was May 2018, another Chinese launched on the same rocket as the Kuikao and Longjiang 2, but it never entered the moon's orbit. It was a spacecraft failure. Yeah, absolutely. What else? We have the Longjiang 2. That is May 2018. Same time, same country. This one was successful. This was a second satellite on the same rocket, but this one operated in lunar orbit until 31st of 2019 when it impacted the lunar surface. And on to you, Mackie, for the next lot. Falcon 9. I watched that one live, yeah. Israel. Yeah, so that's right. These are all robotic missions that I'll cover off. So the USA Moon Express, the name is the Lunar Scout. That's July 2020. That's further on this year. Private Lander Technology Demonstration Lander. We have, that's going to, so the lander carries the International Lunar Observatory, which is really interesting. India, the ISRO, Chandra 3. And 2021, that's due. India's second attempt to soft land on the moon. So they're going to go again, which is good to see. The USA, NASA, and ESA, and CubeSat providers. That's Artemis, and it looks like April 21. Primary unscrewed test of Orion spacecraft in lunar flyby. Secondary, 13 CubeSats. Interesting. The USA and NASA back on the on the march. Capstone, December 2020. At the moment, they've not named the rocket type, but it's going to be an orbiter technology demonstrator. China, the Chang'e 5, there's Q4 this year. Long March 5 rocket, and it's a sample and return mission. That's going to be really interesting. See, if you can land and grab something and bring it back, that's a big step forward to have as a robotic mission. Russia, there's Russia, that's right, the Roscosmos, Luna 25, May 2021. It's going to use the Soyuz 2.1B Fregat M. The lander will explore natural resources, usually O3, part of Lunar Globe program. USA, Astrobiotic Technology is the one looking into this one. Peregrine, the Vulcan rocket, private technology demonstrator, Peregrine lander, and other rovers, and also Unity, delivery of payloads for NASA CLPS program. And we've got the USA Intuitive Machines, Nova C, Falcon 9 rocket, payloads. This is July 2021, payloads delivery for NASA's CLPS. There's competition with the rockets, Meki, between two of those. That's what I'm reading here. Once again, the US again. This is the iSpace and Draper Lab Artemis 7 lander, October 2021 next year. Falcon 9 lander technology demonstration again. Germany, Meki. Germany's making their first appearance here. Where? Yeah, Werner von Braun would be very proud of himself. The PT scientists, Alina, I forget even the category of it, it's not continued on the page. 2021, the Ariane 6 rocket, private technology demonstration of lander and rover. It looks like there's so many different companies, Meki, coming in for this, for the money, because it's all money driven. I wonder how many of these are going to survive, but anyway, we'll see. United Kingdom, that's the first one, to the moon. Spacebit Mission 1, it's called, 2021. The ULA Vulcan Centaur rocket, explore lunar caves, use spider-like moon rovers. Ooh, legged rovers, not wheeled rovers for the first time. That's pretty cool. Japan, the JAXA, that's the Japan space program. SLIM, 2022 January, the pinpoint landing and roving. They're going to see if they can maybe make that more accurate by the sound of that. South Korea, my goodness. Yeah, Korea Pathfinder Lunar Orbiter Falcon 9. So that's good to see the Falcon getting used. The Orbiter Technology Demonstration once again. The USA again with NASA, the Viper rover. Hasn't been, and they haven't decided what rocket platform to use yet, but will prospect for lunar resources in the South Pole region, especially for water ice. That was always on the cards, wasn't it? They're going to mine for water, and if they can do that, we've got a launch platform. Imagine if, Mickey, just before I continue, just imagine if creatures landed on the surface of your building to mine it for resources. Right? That's I keep thinking that when I'm reading this. So yeah, flying around orbit, I don't really care. That's fine. But if you get a land and start digging up stuff, that I'd be a little concerned. That's all right. Let's see. Just don't drill into us, right? That's what we're asking you. Russia again, Luna 26 is 2022 orbiter, part of Lunar Globe program. So it's the second mission. Japan again, Destiny 2022 Epsilon rocket, lunar flyby towards the asteroid. They've got an asteroid that's at 3,200 Pantheon. China again, the Chang'e 6 mission, 2023 or 2024. Long March 5 rocket, sample and return from the lunar South Pole. That meant, Meki, that South Pole's got a lot of interest, hasn't it? Yeah, that's right. Russia, again, 2023, Lander, part of Lunar Glide program, the third mission. US, the iSpace, the second iSpace and Draper Lab mission. This 2023, Falcon 9 rocket again. Rover technology demonstration. It's a long way out to do a demo, isn't it? It really is. You know, we got vendors we talk to, and it's funny that none of them are saying to me, "Oh, look, in 2024 we're going to have this thing. Oh, we want to show you." We have to build it first. We don't know what it is, but you know, if you want something, you let us know. You're going to love it, right? So the Falcon 9, these rockets may not even be the platform when we get there. Who knows? So the Blue Origin, USA Blue Moon project name 2024. They haven't announced the rocket, and it's just going to be a lander. Meki, what about the crewed missions? Wow. Mm-hmm. No, you take him. Go ahead. North Korea? Paper mache really gets there, right? Okay. That's right. Moonrise, yeah. Yeah, not a problem at all. So, the competition for crewed missions are China, Japan, US, and Russia. China is the name of the project is CLEP, and that's in the 2030s crewed lunar landing. And each of these are actually, well, the next two are also, so Japan, USA are looking to in the 2030s and 2024 onwards, looking for crewed lunar landings. But there's the Russia is interested in that lunar globe project in the 2030s to crewed lunar orbiter and landing. I don't know how you could just do a landing without an orbiter. I suppose with those Falcon or the heavy, the BFR, the big rockets that like the Falcon 9. The ones, what's his name? Elon Musk is doing, SpaceX is doing, that you should be able to land with the one rocket and take off again, rather than splitting like a payload to go down and then come back again. I think that's the true spaceship is what that the crewed lunar landings are. So that'll be very interesting going forward. I think that's where we have to bring the show to an end. I don't think we can talk about the rest. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's not even in a shot any longer. Mm-hmm. Mm. So it's interesting to see that they're going to explore the caves in one of those missions. Yeah. When was that ever mentioned previously? Hmm. Mm-hmm. Hey, I like that. It's better than real information. Oh yes. Absolutely. Take care, and we'll see you next week for show 420.